Welcome to the Kevin Cook Show. And now, here's Kevin.
Well, howdy, folks. I'm Kevin K-Dog Cook. Been a while since I've actually done a Kevin Cook Show, so I thought I'd just come on here and just shoot the breeze about what's going on in terms of, oh, gee whiz, there's a lot of stuff going on, but who cares? You know, I got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I got some really cool stuff to talk about, and you know, I can't really share everything. That's the problem with this whole episode, is I can't share everything, but I am going to be keeping you up to date about what's going on in my life and currently some topics I like to talk about. Well, as you can see, like, the Spreaker has really taken off really big time, and you know, I'm getting new listeners about every week, maybe sometimes about every other day. There's always somebody checking me out and definitely checking out K-Dog's Country. And, you know, of course, this is the reason why I do K-Dog's Country is because I enjoy country music as much as the next guy, and I wanted to play it my way and not the way that is currently being played on country radio, that the personalities are kind of manufactured, I think. That's the best way to describe it, is manufactured personalities. And the only way you get a decent personality is if you listen to a syndicated show or a network show, and it was just not the way I was really brought up to do radio, and so... And plus, I love that format. I grew up on it, but I grew up during a period where, you know, you had really good talent, you had really good DJs, and part of it, the computer has killed a lot of the business, and it's been replaced by, you know, computers and the syndicated. There's no real talent there. And so that's my only way to express my talent as a radio personality and play the music that I want to play, not what someone has programmed me to play. So that's why I've been doing that. And you notice I finally went, if you listen to that show, I finally did go commercial free. Mostly because I was getting those spots. I was doing it just, you know, I could have a break in between when I was putting the show together. But now I just said, the heck with it, and I'm going to cut that out. And plus, I was getting those spots from another radio show, so wasn't exactly a proper thing to do. So the best thing I thought was, let's just cut it out. Let's just, you know, just play straight music, me talk to you a little bit, and then go on from there. And of course, you know, I've been posting some YouTube videos, you know, doing my DVD and Blu-ray updates and doing some movie reviews. Unfortunately, I do more the Blu-ray and DVD updates more than I do the movie reviews. Partially is because I don't get to go out to the theater all the time, and you know, I'm not that dedicated of a cinephile, you know. You know, I can't go out and see a movie every weekend. It's just crazy. And there's a lot of stuff I do want to see, and coming up, I did kind of want to check out The Great Gatsby and Now You See Me. Those were the two movies I was really wanting to go and look at, but according to critics and people alike, they're saying, well, in terms of The Great Gatsby, don't waste your money on it because, sure, it's a good adaptation, but there's a much better version out there that's already been made, you know, and it's a classic movie. And, of course, Now You See Me, I've heard mixed things about it. I've read some mixed reviews on it. I've heard people that really enjoy it. They thought it was a very entertaining movie, and I've heard that it's just a waste of time. It's not really good. But definitely the one I'm really looking forward to is Man of Steel. That's a big one that's coming out Superman. Superman is getting redone again, and I'm glad to see that. Well, let me back up here in my comment. I'm glad to see that they're taking a smarter approach to doing Superman, because the last time Superman was made into a movie, it was Superman Returns, and a lot of people complained about it, and they didn't really care for it because, I think the best description of what Superman Returns is Kevin Smith, what he had to say about it. He said, it's whiny, emo Superman. And that's not Superman. And I understand, and I thought, the good thing I thought about Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, I thought he did a really good job of bringing back the same feel that was experienced with the Richard Donner film. And as you know, throughout time that particular film series went on, it got campy, it got stupid, and it just was not good. And so what Bryan Singer tried to do was bring back that same feel that the original Superman movie had, which was, with the whole tagline, "You'll believe a man can fly." And I thought that was a brilliant campaign for back in 1978. It wouldn't work for 2005, obviously. But yeah, it was kind of silly. And another thing I didn't like about Superman Returns was the special effects. It was quite obvious that in some shots that you could tell that Brandon Roth was completely CGI. And it was quite obvious that he was CGI. And so I think with this approach, what they're doing with Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan coming on board, they're going to give it a more realistic approach and basically do what they did with Batman. And they totally scrapped everything. And according to what I've seen with the trailer, it looks pretty darn good. And the next thing I want to talk about, hey, the DVDs and Blu-rays are still coming in. I'm almost debating whether I should do like 2 videos a month, but probably not. I'm going to save them all until the 26th day of each month and do it from there. I'm picking up I'm trying to find a lot of stuff that I really, really wanted to watch. And like classic stuff that I never got to fully experience. There's some really great stuff out there. I'm picking up a lot of titles. I'm not picking up a lot of titles, but I just went on a shopping spree last week, and I went to a place called Dave's Video, and they sell old DVDs and Blu-rays, and I just thought, I had these titles on my mind, and I was only able to walk out with a couple of titles that I really wanted to own. And I'm going to share one of them with you, The Elephant Man. I had been looking for that, and I was considering purchasing it on Amazon, but the problem with that is it's out of print, and the only version available is in the UK. That's the only way to get that movie on high definition. Even on DVD, it's out of print here in the United States. So it's really, really difficult to find. The only place you're going to find it would be like a Goodwill or a mom and pop video store that sells old DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that. And shoot, you may be lucky to find a VHS copy of it. But yeah, I've been going through that stuff and trying to get into some movies that I never got into before that were really classics. And I'm not going to tell you those. I think I'm going to save the surprise for later. But definitely The Elephant Man. I was really looking forward to. And another one I'm trying to find a good copy of it. They just came out with a 10-box set of Mad Max. I'm really wanting to watch The Road Warrior. and I do not own a copy of The Road Warrior. I'm trying to find any copy on the digital media of The Road Warrior. And, I tried to go to that video store that I mentioned before, and they didn't have a copy. They had plenty of Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome. They had plenty of those. But no, The Road Warrior, the most popular one. And I was able to find a copy on Amazon, but I don't know if I really want to spend that money on it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm a cheapskate. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Plus, I've been working about every day, so I don't get as much time to watch these movies as I should. But, definitely the weekend comes, and that's when I just go crazy. And that's when I go out and buy stuff and watch it. But, yeah, lots going on. And of course, I'm not able to keep up with this show as much as I would like to. But, This is a show where I come in, let off some steam about what's really going on. And, of course, again, the movie reviews I've done so far this summer, I've done Iron Man 3 and Star Trek Into Darkness. I'll kind of give a brief review here on this episode of both those films. Iron Man 3. To sum it all up, I think Iron Man 3 should have been Iron Man 2. I think the story was much better and much more fluid and much more fun than Part 2. Part 2, don't get me wrong, is a fun movie to watch, even though a lot of people are disappointed in it. Part 2 was just to get something out there, but it really should have been what Part 3 should have been Part 2, because there's definitely, and who cares about the tie-ins to the Avengers and all that stuff. It's a much deeper story, I thought. Because it really gets into Tony Stark, and while Part 2 was getting into characters like Black Widow and Pepper Potts and Happy Hogan. And we completely forgot about the main villain of the film, who was... Well, see, I can't even remember the villain in Part 2. Who was it? Whiplash. Yeah, Ivan Vanko. Whiplash. And, I really enjoyed that film, but Iron Man 3 took it up a notch, and Iron Man 3 should have been Part 2, and that's all I'm going to say about it. And I was really impressed by the fact that how well of a job that Weta Digital and Digital Domain did on Part 3, replacing ILM. And of course, I'm a big Industrial Light and Magic fan. I'm always a fan of what they do, even though they have made some pretty crappy movies. I'm a fan of their work as a visual effects house, and it seems to me like they're always the one at the cutting edge of the technology, and everyone else is copycatting what they had made famous. Now, about Weta has definitely pioneered some stuff too, and Digital Domain has as well. But, between not Digital Domain, but between ILM and Weta Digital, I think those are the two best visual effects houses that are working today. Definitely Weta Digital. They did a really good job with Iron Man 3. They did some with Digital Domain. They did some shots with War Machine. They did the whole airplane sequence, and what Weta Digital did was mostly the shots where Tony Stark is in the Iron Man suit and he's walking around and doing all the fighting, and of course the big climactic shot at the end. Now, I did not know this until after I saw the Avengers when it played in the theater, that Weta Digital had actually done some shots in that movie for Iron Man. They actually did the shot where Iron Man. They actually did, well, untie my tongue. They did two shots in that movie. They did a shot where Iron Man goes into the propeller blade to stop, to spin it, and then to get out. And they also did the scene where Thor shows up and him and Iron Man get into that big fight in the forest. And, you know, the whole Shakespeare in the Park comment, they did that shot. And you can barely tell that that was a Weta Digital shot. And I thought with Iron Man 3, I thought they did a very good job of definitely tying in from the Avengers to Iron Man 3. They did a fantastic job with that. Because there's this whole spiel about Tony Stark and what he's going through emotionally afterwards, and yeah, it was really pleasing, even though it should have been part 2. It's not without flaws. I mean, there's definitely some big flaws. And then the next movie was Star Trek Into Darkness, which, shall I say, I was very, very pleased with it. I was very, very entertained, but there were some things about it that I thought, okay, we need to fix this here. And it's getting a little tiresome, and it's not with the Star Trek universe, it's with J.J. Abrams, I guess. And I know I've bragged up J.J. Abrams. I bragged him up about all year last year because I fell in love with Super 8. I mean, I really did. And I understand why a lot of people didn't like it. Yeah, it's cheesy, it's goofy, and it just proves a point that it was a Spielberg movie from the 80s trying to compete with the films of modern day, and that just proved a point that those films would not. Some of those films would not survive today. And I'm a big fan of those 80s Spielberg movies. You know, I grew up watching them, like Back to the Future, Batteries Not Included. You know, I can list a whole bunch of them. Harry and the Hendersons. Now, imagine those films. Go back and watch those films, like Batteries Not Included, Harry and the Hendersons. I'm trying to think of some of the others. Empire of the Sun. They really would not hold up today. That's the real problem with them. At the time, they were very popular movies. I mean, they were making money left and right. But today, in today's market, in today's movie-going audience, it wouldn't survive. It's if it did, it would make what Super 8 did, and I thought Super 8 was a good movie. It's not a movie that let's just say this about Super 8. I'm going to wrap this up, then I'll get into Star Trek. It's not a movie that I would like to see them make all the time. It was a nice little throwback movie. I was, if you go back and watch my review of that film right after I seen it, I'm on cloud 9. And after several viewings of it, I still enjoy it, but it just proves a point that I don't think that a film, definitely a film that was made by Amblin Entertainment back in the 80s could survive today, and maintain an audience. And of course, you had the people that went to see it, and some people, and I'm sorry. Hold the thought on Star Trek. I'm going to get into that here in just a second. I read a review and I understand that some of the people, even some of the people that were in those old Amblin Entertainment movies, they didn't really care for it. And particularly, I read read an interview with Henry Thomas. And who's Henry Thomas? He was Elliot in E.T. He was the kid that played Elliot in E.T. And this person interviewing him, they were interviewing him for the Hank Williams movie that just came out. not too long ago. And someone had asked him, had you ever seen Super 8? And he said, yes, I saw it. And he said, quite frankly, it did nothing for me. That was his quote. He said, it did nothing for me. He said, plus, I've grown up. And, well, yeah, he kind of said, I've grown up since then. He's now 41 years old. And he kind of said, in order to really capture that E.T. like vibe, he said, I understand that's what they were trying to go for, but he said, I just couldn't do it. And he said, in order for you to catch that full E.T. vibe, you had to be there filming E.T. You couldn't in 1982. I mean, whenever they filmed the movie, I think it was 1981 actually. Late 1981, early 82. And he said, you had to be in that time period. You had to be there with us because it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And he said, this film, it just didn't do anything for me. It did not bring me back to that. But even though I read in Entertainment Weekly that Steven Spielberg said that was the closest thing to having fun of being on the set because it reminded him of being on the set of E.T., just the way the kids were behaving. And just the way that they were. But now, enough of that garbage. Let's move on to Star Trek. Star Trek Into Darkness. Okay, here's my point. What I was trying to, before I went on that little tangent about Super 8, is I am a little tired of the J.J. Abrams lens flare. I know that's kind of his trademark, but he's going a little overboard with it. And I understand, well, of course, the lens flare was put in with the original Star Trek. And a lot of people liked it. They love that lens flare. But then when he puts it in Super 8, it's like, oh, okay, you're nodding to Star Trek a little bit. You're trying to prove that this is your trademark. And then by Star Trek Into Darkness, it goes overboard and just, okay, we're tired of it. And I do think the man has potential for the new Star Wars, so I am going to give him a little bit of credit. I'm just, there's a couple of things about J.J. Abrams that my hope is eventually he doesn't turn into M. Night Shyamalan. Now, the reason why I say that is because some of the similar things are going on with J.J. Abrams that went on with M. Night Shyamalan and still go on with M. Night Shyamalan. And that is the fact that everything has to be done in secret. Otherwise, it's going to spoil the whole thing for you. With Star Trek Into Darkness, everybody could see it coming. Everybody could see it coming that Benedict Cumberbatch... Benedict Cumberbatch, or is it Benedict Cumberbatch? That character is going to be Khan, which, from the old Star Trek movies and the TV show. Everybody knew that was going to be Khan, either going to be Khan or a guy who was associated with Khan. So it really was not a big surprise when you're watching that on screen. And Benedict Cumberbatch, I hope I'm not, I forget his name, actually, how you pronounce it, but he says, my name is Khan. That's when you go, we thought so. We knew all along because he was, the way they were portraying him, he was a genetically engineered guy. He's a bit of a tyrant. He's not a nice guy. He loves killing people. So, it's Khan. The most notorious villain in the whole Star Trek. Oh, I don't know about that, but it was definitely one of Kirk's greatest nemesis. But yeah, I think with the whole secretive thing that J.J. Abrams and the lens flare, it's kind of getting on everybody's nerves now, and it's with Super 8, I can understand. everyone knew with that it was a creature. The really big secretive thing was, what does the creature look like? And that definitely harkened back to Spielberg with E.T. Because I guess when E.T. came out back in 1982, and they had shot the movie, and the press was releasing, all the press materials about it, and the promotions and the trailers, Spielberg made it clear that you're not to see the creature, you are not to speak of the creature. As a matter of fact, the 20th anniversary edition DVD, they were talking about the guy who played Michael. He said, as soon as we were done with the movie, we could barely keep our excitement down, because he said we had signed non-disclosure agreements about what E.T. was. And as a matter of fact, they themselves did not see E.T. until the day they started, until their first scene in the movie. So when you see Michael turn around and give that shocking look, like, ew, that's what it is kind of look, that was his real reaction. That was not acting. And, I know I'm tying this into Star Trek, but yeah, the whole I'm going on about J.J. Abrams, and I still enjoy the guy's work. I think he is an entertaining director. I think he's an entertaining writer, and yeah, I think he's a very good guy. He knows what to do, and of course, the guy has been in the business longer than what I thought he was. And I first thought his big thing when he first came out was Alias. And I had no idea that he was the mastermind behind the show Felicity. I had no idea that he was a screenplay writer for Disney back in the 90s, and he co-wrote movies like Armageddon and Gone Fishing with Joe Pesci. I mean, that's the one that really fooled me, is that he wrote Gone Fishing with Joe Pesci and Danny Glover, which was kind of this redneck-like movie. I was like, what? He's credited for that? But, yeah, my phone just went off. Someone's sending me a text message. But, yeah, those are the things I wanted to come on here and talk about, and I plan to see more movies, and of course the DVDs and DVD and Blu-ray updates are keeping on coming. That's all I got to say. So, from me to you, see you later.